In today's video, we're going to go over the 5 things that people most regret after going solar. Coming in at number 5, making the right choice between owning versus leasing solar. This is a tricky one for a lot of reasons. On the one hand, lots of solar gurus online and other places, and many people you'll meet will tell you, oh, you absolutely have to own your solar. It's the only way to go. If you don't own it, then you don't get to take advantage of the tax credits, and you're going to get ripped off by the solar company because a lease is really just renting, etc., etc. And while those are good points, they don't apply to everyone because everyone's financial situation and needs are very different. So owning can be better if you can collect the tax credits. There's a 30% federal tax credit on going solar, and some people don't pay enough taxes to be able to collect that fast enough for it to make any sense whatsoever for them to do that. Or if you're older or retired, not only might your tax situation be a problem for going with ownership, but also you may not want to invest money in ownership, and having a lease that protects you against an ever-increasing electric bill might be just the ticket. So one of the things that I do to help people decide this is, the first thing is we figure out what their tax situation is, because ownership is really off the table for the most part if you don't pay enough in federal income taxes to be able to get that 30% tax credit. It just doesn't make any sense to leave that on the table. And then the other thing is, I want to find out from my customers exactly what their goals are, because sometimes their goal is to just save the most money they can every month to start with and have protection over time. And often, not always, a lease or a power purchase agreement for solar can achieve that. You can start off with lower payments and they will protect you over time as well. So for many people, ownership is definitely the right way to go because they get to collect the tax credits, they get equity in their house. Again, if you can collect the tax credits, that's fantastic. There's great financing available, although interest rates are very high right now, which is maybe a reason that in many states, under many utilities, a lease can be actually cheaper for a good number of years. The other thing to consider when you're talking about ownership versus leasing is that with ownership, you will hopefully get very good warranties from the installer, and there should be good warranties on the equipment itself, but you should realize that over time, it is likely that you will have to spend some of your own money to fix and maintain the system, because none of those warranties are bulletproof. It would rely on the installation company still being in business when you need that work. So there's definitely, when you own the system, you need to understand that you potentially will have costs down the road. The opposite is really true for a lease. So a lease or a PPA agreement is almost always 25 years, and essentially that agreement is a 25-year service agreement. From the solar company's perspective, they are promising to provide you with a certain amount of electricity every year, and if they fail to do so, and it dips below the 85% that is usually guaranteed, then they will have to fix the system in order for it to come back up to produce above that guaranteed amount. And what's great about that from the customer's perspective is that the solar company is usually and monetarily highly motivated to do this because they have to pay to fix the system if it's broken to get the production back up where it should be. They don't want to delay doing that because they don't want to also have to compensate the customer for missed production. So these days, when it's hard to get anybody to come out to your house to do anything for any price, I think a lot of people really think that it is a very good option to go with a lease or a PPA, because again, it's essentially a 25-year service agreement to provide you with a guaranteed amount of electricity at a guaranteed price, and you will not have any cost of repair or maintenance. Number 4, so people may regret that they did not get a good design when they initially went solar. And this is very unfortunate, and it's hard for the individual consumer to know whether they're getting a good design or not. I see poor designs on rooftops all the time. I've been doing this for a very long time. Most of those designs are old, and they were done with really ugly panels that had blue color to them and grid lines available. But I still see new installations going in that show conduit all over the place, that put panels on roofs that make no sense in terms of the production for the system. And I often just see wasted opportunities where they could have put solar panels that would have produced better and been a better fit and better aesthetically for the homeowner. If you're going to go solar, this is something you should really need to investigate, is really get a good look at the design before they install it. And a key to this is the design that's sold to you by the salesperson is not necessarily what they're going to install. And so make sure you go through that crucial step where you see the design before they install it so that you can approve it and make sure it meets your needs, both aesthetically and also for the production that you want. So that's a pretty easy one to avoid. But again, a lot of solar companies cut corners. They do installations that have conduit on the roof and it's ugly, or they just don't take the time to really optimize the design for production. So make sure you do that and you don't have regret afterwards that you could have done it better. The third thing that people often regret after going solar is really related to the design, which is that they got the wrong size system. Now, I used to worry years ago about giving people too much solar. I didn't want to have them overproduce the solar and end up with an ever-growing credit on their electric bill and never be able to do anything with that money because most utilities won't write you a check for it. And if you just overproduce, all you do is get a credit for that. It turns out in my experience that that's incredibly rare that people don't end up using the electricity. And even if they run a credit, they probably will end up using it in the future because they may switch to mini splits, get an electric vehicle, or they just may keep their house warmer or cooler in the summer. So I think that in any kind of system size decision, I would always recommend that you err on the size of being bigger rather than smaller. Here in Massachusetts, I used to recommend, if your roof would allow, that you should go to 105, maybe 110% to make sure that you would never have an electric bill. And the reason that you would need to do that is because there's a monthly charge that you would have to overproduce in order to cover. That's not true in every state. You can't always cover that monthly charge with the extra production from solar turning into dollar credit for net metering. Here in Massachusetts, you can. Also, we can predict very accurately what a solar system will produce annually, but it's going to be plus or minus 5% given any year's weather situation. So in the year where you produce 5% less than you were supposed to, it's probably going to be a cold, dark year, and you may use 5% more electricity, in which case having a system that overproduced would, help cover that. Also, they kind of shave the net metering even in one-to-one states. For instance, if you buy electricity at 33 cents in the summer, you may only net meter it at 31 cents. And then also the winter rate could be jacked up higher than that. It might be 38 or 40 cents. And so your net metering doesn't go quite as far. So that's another reason that it makes sense to overproduce rather than just try to hit that number exactly. And because all that stuff is happening, the monthly charges are going up, they're shaving the net metering more, and those charges between summer and winter rates can have even bigger gaps now. I'm now recommending, if you have the roof space, which most of my customers don't have this choice, but some of them do. So if you have the choice, because you have room on your roof to do it, I actually recommend that you go to about 115 or 120%, depending again on what your needs and goals are. The other thing that you really need to think about is, what is your electricity usage going to look like in the future? Obviously, you can't know exactly, but you may have plans to add an electric vehicle at some point. You may have plans to add a hot tub or mini splits, or you may have teenagers that are leaving the house and your usage might go down. Now, we can't predict any of these exactly, but it is certainly very smart to try to price these in at the beginning rather than doing it later, because it becomes much trickier later to resize the system. You want to try as much as you can to get it right the first time, erring on the side of being too big. I hope that makes sense. And that gets us to our second regret that homeowners who went solar often have, which is that they did not future-proof the system when they put it in. So there's a lot of different parts of future-proofing your system. One is the system size, which we just talked about. It makes a lot more sense to size your system for things you're going to add, like mini splits or electric vehicles. If you can do it right at the start, it makes a lot more sense to do it at the beginning rather than later. Let me explain why. Solar companies are not going to come out and install 2 or 3 panels as an addition to your system. No matter what the N-phase microinverter guys tell you that you can just add a panel and it's easy, it's not, because you have to file all the same paperwork, pull all the same permits, send out the same number of electricians. So the cost for a solar company to come out to your home and just add a couple of panels to your system would be so high that they would charge you 10 times what 2 panels were worth. And it's just, no one's going to do it. It doesn't make any sense at all. So most solar companies have a minimum system size that they will do. It's usually 8 or 10 or 12 panels. That may change over time, but I don't think it's going to change a lot because of all the reasons I just listed. So If you are going to have future needs and they're going to be 4,000 or 5,000 kilowatt hours extra a year or more, and you have room on your roof, but you're not going to probably add those things for several years, it may make sense to just put in the system size that you need now and wait to add that later. Otherwise, if it's a smaller amount than that, you should really just put it in at the beginning. And again, if you're just a little bit over in your sizing, that's not a big deal. It's much better than being under. If you're 5% under, that could end up being a lot of money you give to the utility over the years. The other thing to consider for future-proofing your system is the technology that you choose. As I've said in many of my videos, I am a big proponent of the Solar Edge inverter system. I think it is a really great system, and they have a really good inverter system that has DC coming off the roof. And what this means is that it's very, very future compatible for adding batteries to, because you can DC couple the battery system to this inverter system, and it will be a much more efficient battery system. I have lots of other videos on that as well. So I think that choosing the correct inverter system to future-proof your system is very, very key. And I recommend the Solar Edge system for future-proofing your solar. The number one thing that people regret after going solar is that they chose a company that goes out of business. And this can cause a lot of problems, obviously, for repair and maintenance on your system if the installer has gone out of business. Now, there's absolutely no way to be certain that any solar company is going to be around in 5, 10, or 15 years. I've been doing this a long time. I've seen giant companies go out of business. I can name several large companies that were publicly traded on Wall Street that have gone out of business. Also, of course, small solar companies go out of business all the time. So some people think, oh, I want to go with the small local guy. They're going to do a better job and have better service. And that very well may be true, but not if they're not in business in 5 years. They're not going to be able to take care of you. This is a tricky one. And again, no one, myself included, can promise you that any particular installer is still going to be in business down the road. However, there are some things you can look at to make smart choices. So if you're interested in going solar, you can sign up below for a 30-minute free solar consultation with me, and I will pair you with an installer that I have many reasons to believe is going to do a great job, take very good care of you, has really good warranties, and most importantly, will still be around in the years to come to take care of you and your system. Please like and subscribe. If you liked this video, you may find some of my other videos helpful.